of that?
No, OX Cables. I went to work for Olympic Cables on the 9th of March 1959.
But you were you...
That's the memory of it.
Were you in the office or were you out actually laying cables?
Oh, no.
I thought you were...
No.
You were white collar.
I was working for at Bonds in Pendle Hill, or Wentworth, they call it, Pendle Hill, on the afternoon shift. And I saw this ad in the paper and apply in the first instance, which means you've got to write. And I'm taking this down. So I wrote in and gave all my details of where I'd worked. And I had an interview with the manager. Ray Chaplin, his name. His nickname was Shoulders. And then I had a call to go back again, another interview. So I went back and he said, "You got the job." He said, "But you can start," he said, "when you start," he said, "will be my final week because I'm retiring." And he went up to Nambucca Heads. He said, "If the man you are replacing knew that I was retiring, the job wouldn't be here for you." The fellow I replaced was a bloke called Jack Randall, who finished up as head electrical teacher at Meadowbank Tech. But at that stage, the office was on the second floor of 68 to 70 Clarence Street. And every now and again, the Melbourne would call to speak to this Ray Chaplin. But he was never there, because he used to hold court in the lounge of the Occidental Hotel, which is on the corner of York Street and Erskine Street. And the lounge was at the end of the pub, an upper flight of stairs. So when Melbourne wanted him, this Jack Randall, well, the girls would say, "Jack, Melbourne was the boss." So we'd have to go down 2 flights of stairs into Clarence Street, round the corner, round the other corner, up the flight of stairs again. So, "Melbourne wants you, boss." And he could do this 3 and 4 times a day. So he got Jack of this and gave the job away and went to teaching tech. But fortunately, I only worked under Chaplin for 1 week, because that was the week he was leaving. But they sent a man from Melbourne back up to take his place, a fellow called Cliff Cordy, a lovely bloke. So Cliff and I actually started at Olympic at the same time, and we became a pretty good team. There was another fellow worked with Chaplin, Bob Bagent. He was his second in command. He knew that the writing was on the wall for him, so he didn't last long, and he tossed it in. He went to work for one of the opposition distributors. See, Olympic did not sell direct to people. It only sold through distributors. It was a distributor network, and CMA, our opposition, worked in the same manner. They had distributors as well. And Chaplin and Bagent had spent more time with opposition people than they did with our people. So the last thing he said to Cliff Cordy when he was leaving was, Old George Brown has a Christmas party every year. But don't be surprised if you don't get an invitation to it. He said, I have never been invited to George Brown's Christmas party. So this was March. Comes, I think he used to hold them around about November. And after Bagent left, I got a step up actually, and I became the second signatory to cheques, because Cliff and Bagent used to be the second signatory, but I got that job, and Cliff and I were a pretty good team. Well, come that Christmas time, we used to go through the mail together in his office, and he didn't mind seeing things that were for him. And he says, "Well, look at this." He said, "I've got an invitation to George Brown's Christmas party."
At last.
But he was a completely different person to Chaplin. He used to go round to the distributors and see them and talk to them. And the majority of our distributors and CMAs were all in Clarence Street or thereabouts. You could walk from one end of Clarence Street to the other, and you'd pick up, I think it was about 9 cable distributors at one stage. So he went to George Brown's Christmas party. The next year, I was also invited, plus Stan Baines, who was our Sydney rep. And then a bit later on, Les's nephew, Ted Simmons, got out of school, and he wanted a job, and he spoke to me, and I spoke to Cliff, and he said, "Yeah, we'll give him a job." So Ted came to work for us, and he got invited too.
God, free for all for everybody by then.
Yeah. By that time, old George had died.
Yeah.
And he only had 2 daughters, and the daughters owned the company. But there were 2 fellas he used to call his boys, Jim Taylor and Jack Hoy. And Jim Taylor became the general manager, and when Jim retired, Jack Hoy became general manager. But Cliff and I thought the same, and you saw the distributors, and not only that, Cliff used to see everybody at the distributors. The fellow, when he was taken back to Melbourne, they sent another fellow up, Don Dennis, who only ever saw the manager, or the managing director.
Yeah.
There was one day, I can remember, I was in Martin Delaunay, was one of our distributors. They were on the corner of George Street and Clarence Street. And I was talking to Norm Houston, who used to write out the cable orders. And we were talking away in Norm's office, and then Cliff poked his head around the corner. He said, "Oh, hello, Norm." He said, "Oh, you're John's looking after you." "Okay, bye." He had probably seen 5 other people in Martin Delaunay's before he called on Norm. But Norm looked after him, gave the orders, cable orders. He always saw Norm.
Oh.
That was the sort of bloke he was.
Yeah.
And that's why he was invited to George Brown's Christmas party. He had a different idea altogether.
Yeah. I can't believe how you can remember what building was on what corner and the names, surnames, people that were their Christian names. You've got a great memory.
Oh, no. The times I walked up and down Clarence Street.
Yeah.
I used to work in the city. I can't think of half the people I worked with their names. I'm not going to remember their first names, you know. It's shocking. Yeah. You've got a really good memory.
Well, whenever there was a new price list came out, Melbourne used to send up a swag of price lists, and we had a trade price list and a net government price list, because the government got 7.5% off the trade price.
That's right.
Our distributors got 25% off. A contractor the best he could get was 15%. So the government got better than
the trades.
trades, yeah. And I used to take these price lists around to the various distributors. And I couldn't take them all at once because from our place I had to call on Fawkes, Stadelman, C.F. Stewart.
All ones with who wanted different price lists.
Well, they're all in Clement Street.
Yeah.
What's the name? I forget the name now. They were next to BGE. They were a small distributor. Salmon Brothers, George Brown and Martin Delormeau. All of those in Clement Street. Then I popped down into Kent Street to see A.G. Brewer.
Oh, that scared me.
That's a lovely photo.
That's a beautiful photo.
Yeah.
I scanned them one, but I didn't scan
That
the
one I had taken, that's a professional one.
I love the paisley tie and everything. Look, just
Yes.
the era, isn't it? It's beautiful.
Put that in there, did you keep that tight?
No,
1980s the paisley or 1970s?
70s. 70s was the paisley.
well, I was 20 years service that was for.
So, what year? 19.
Well, that would have been 79.
There you go. So 70s to 80s.
They needed my photo to go in the Olympic news, in the Olympics news.
So your job was to help in the sales and distribution. Distributing.
My job was quotations.
So you had to know the cables and what you were talking about.
The idea was that the government put out tenders. Some of them had quotations. Sydney County Council and the railways used to put out quotations, which were just one sheet. And on top of that there were tenders, which were more involved. And the distributors were able to quote these government departments. It was a cartel in those days. We had the same price as CMA. Everybody had the same price. When these things were broken up, it was because of Shortland County Council in Newcastle. They jibbed because they got, I don't know how many, they got all these quotes and they were all the same price. Why? Well, there was only two suppliers, Olympic and CMA. All these different offers were from our distributors from the two companies. Of course, they all had the same price. But they used to have to register with me for these quotes that came out. And I gave them, once we got the price up from Melbourne, I used to send copies out to them. But it got to the stage where I didn't worry about that. I knew who and how many were quoted on the railways and who and how many quoted on the Electricity Commission and who and how many quoted on the Sydney County Council. I knew all that. I started off with a book that was about this long and opened out and it was that long and I had to write all their names in. I thought, well, to hell with that. I know all these things. Why should I register all these blokes and waste a lot of time and effort and paper? So I just asked for the number of copies that I knew I needed for each particular quotation and got them round to the distributors. I took some of them. Some of them had to post at Gilbert Lodge out at Lidcombe. Had to post Gilbert Lodges out. But I was a bit more than just a quotations clerk. And I soon got to know all of our cables because with Olympic we made everything. The cables you get today in your house is PVC insulated and sheared. It's rubbish. We started off making rubber cables. It all went back to Frank Burrapair. When the war came, we used to get all our cable from England. And when things started to get a bit rough, the government approached Burrapeer and said, would you be prepared to make cables? And minus the expletives, because he was a pretty foul-mouthed bloke apparently, he said, if I can wrap rubber around a steel wire to make a tyre, I can't see why I can't wrap rubber around a copper wire to make a cable. Yes, I'll do it. So he started Olympic Cables, because he had Olympic Tyre and Rubber Company and Burrapeer's Tyre Service. So they ordered machinery from England. It was probably clapped out old stuff that the bombers didn't want anymore. But on the way out, the boat was torpedoed. And bang went the machinery. So Frank said, well, bugger this, send me out some bloody drawings. So they sent him out some drawings of descriptions of everything, of the machinery, and he built the damn things himself. In the tyre company works, they built the machines. And he set up, and Olympic was the first cable company in Australia. Not long after Nilex started making PVC rubbish. That's all they made, PVC. But as well as PVC and rubber cables, they went into making paper cables, paper insulated lead covered cables. We still have a lot of those in the city. At the same time, they made a version of winding wire, winding motors and whatnot. So they made everything, made all sorts of cables. They've done bare aluminium, all the aerials from the commission. They made every type of cable. So I knew all of that.
Yeah.
But there came a time when Ian Burrapeer was supposed to take over from his father when they died. Oh, Frank Burrapeer was one of the leading figures who got the games for Melbourne in '56. He was an Olympian, that's why he called the place Olympic. He won silver and bronze medals in swimming. He was a good swimmer. The reason he started up was that there was a shark attack at Bondi one day, and he was one of the 2 or 3 blokes who swam out and brought a lot of people in, saved a lot of people. And some big businessman in Sydney gave money to these few blokes, and he was one of them.
Oh, right, rewarded.
So he decided he'd start making tyres. And the idea was that they were going to make him Lord Mayor of Melbourne in '56 for the Games. So, you know, it's always handed up over from one Lord Mayor to the next city's Lord Mayor. He had been Lord Mayor previously, and for that he was knighted. When the Lord Mayor left office in Melbourne, he automatically got a knighthood.
All right.
Ian became Lord Mayor at one stage, and he was the first man. He refused a knighthood and never ever accepted one. His wife Beryl became a dame later on. She was mixed up with the Liberal Party, Menzies and all those people. I've got a book about her at home.
Sorry, I can front of the fan for a minute.
But Ian would not accept anything. Well, his father died before he was ready to take over. He was a pretty tough bloke, I think, apparently. And he said Ian had to go through every section of the tyre company, work in every possible section of it, so that he knew what he was talking about. and he knew the people, and the people knew him. So,
So Jackie, what about
Sure.
your oh sorry.
yeah, go on.
No, like your dad and your grandfather, what about their work? What do you remember about their work? Where they worked at?
Okay.
Your
This-
dad was a plumber.
This business about my grandfather being in fights and that sort of thing, or he promoted fights, I believe. I heard not one word about that.
Yeah, until Mum told you that time you didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no inkling that any of that ever happened.
Mum always said that she'd heard the story that he was a boxing promoter and he travelled overseas promoting boxing too. And that's when he used to bring back all the beautiful vases and things from different countries he went to. So I don't know, I've never found anything overseas.
Yes, well, all I ever heard was from Dad and Auntie else that he belted them, things that Jim did. And yeah, Dad did tell me at one stage that when he died, when his father died, he was running a plumbing draining business. Dad told me that his father was a drainer. Now, Dad was a plumber, Uncle Jim was a drainer. And Billy became a drainer. He may, in his father's time, have been maybe a first or second year apprentice. But he wouldn't have been any more than that.
Oh, that's funny.
Dad told me that they used to do a lot for builders called Lecky. And Dad told me that when grandfather died,
Oh, Kerry, it mightn't work down there, so be careful. If it cuts out on you, come out there.
And this way. I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
when grandfather died, Lecky said to Nana, let Joe run the business. But she ignored him, and she and Uncle Jim ran the business. And wasn't long apparently before it went out, went bankrupt, and Lecky took them over. So Dad and Uncle Jim were working for Lecky. Yeah, that's as much as I was ever told about grandfather. But at, I think, Georgie Russell's wake, she was Georgie Menzies, old Raspberry, Tom Russell, the first child of Granny and Grandfather Russell, he married, his wife was Madge, she was a Catholic, they couldn't live together, they had two daughters. Georgie, we call her, Georgina I suppose her name was,
Yeah.
and Marie. Georgie married a George Menzies who came from Norfolk Island.
All right.
Yeah. And his grave is in Norfolk Island. When Georgie died, even though she was a Catholic, she was cremated, and two of her kids were going to take her ashes over to Norfolk Island and bury them in his grave.
All right. And did they? You don't know?
I don't know.
No, that was the plan though, yeah.
That's what they were going to do.
Yeah.
But at Georgie's wake at Malabar RSL, Dave Russell spoke to me, and I don't know where he got this from Dad and his father. I don't know, but he said that he told me also about Lecky telling Nana to let Joe run the business, my father run the business. And she ignored that, and she and Uncle Jim ran the business and ran it into the ground. Now, he said that with the business, with grandfather running the business, he came into contact with Blecky and did a lot of work for Kellen Rigby,
Yeah.
and other people like that, and he couldn't possibly have had a very good education. I can't imagine that he
Your
had.
grandfather?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember Dad at one time, I feel he skited to me that he passed the primary final. That means he finished primary school.
Sorry, who said that? You
My father said to me
that his father had skied?
that he had,
Oh, right,
that
yeah.
Dad had passed the primary final.
Yeah.
And I reckon he had pride in his voice, and it was skited to me that he passed the primary final.
Yeah, so he was proud of it. His dad
Yeah.
never got that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
a lot of kids didn't.
Yeah.
So I can't see that his father had much of an education.
Yeah.
But mixing with these fellas, who were businessmen, and Kellen Rigby was a pretty big builder, these blokes got in his ear and started getting him onto things, improving his, not his education, but his knowledge,
contacts.
knowledge of the world.
Oh, right, yeah.
Now, I could never reconcile the fact that the only stories I knew about this bloke, my grandfather, was that he belted his kids with what was at Malabar. This wonderful pianola with this great stack of pianola rolls. Among them were The Belle of New York, The Pink Lady, and The Desert Song.
Oh, I love that.
All three musicals. Oh,
So, but
I learned that.
was that him or his wife's taste? Like it might have been his wife that.
No. She
Wasn't her? Wasn't her?
No, I reckon he did it.
Yeah. Well, he's the one that did all the vase shopping and all the, flamboyant stuff. So.
And he also had gramophone records. I pinched 2 of those records the last time I left Malabar,
Yeah.
the last time I left 26. One is a 12-inch single-sided...
Too cold there?
Yeah, I did.
Sorry, Jane. Yeah.
A 12-inch single-sided Melba singing Guido's Ave Maria. This is acoustic. And the other is a single-sided 12-inch acoustic from Gully Coochie singing Low Hear the Gentle Lark. They were the only 2 I was going to pinch. I've still got those. A lot of singers in those days had their own labels, their own coloured labels, and it was something to have their own label in those days. Later on, when Auntie Elsie, Uncle Joe and Rita lived in Blakehurst, I was up there one day. I used to visit them quite a lot. And Raymond Russell came up and he said he had borrowed 3 records from Nana, his auntie.
So who's
Mary.
Raymond? He's Shirley's brother.
Shirley's brother,
Yeah.
yep. And he played these. 2 of them I can't remember, but the third one was Caruso, Francis Alder, and forgetting his name, Marcel Journet, the baritone, singing the trio from E. Lombardi.
So he had some taste there, didn't he?
The- I can't tell you the full name of E. Lombardi in Italian, but it translates as the Lombards of the First Crusade. Now that was written not long after Verdi had written his third opera, Nabucco, or Nabucodonosor, or in English, Nebuchadnezzar. And that really took on, especially the chorus of the Hebrews. Yeah, the chorus of the Hebrews.
Probably never heard of
Well,
it. Yeah.
Probably have.
If
Yeah, I
you come,
would've,
if you come to my funeral, you'll hear it.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
Bar Pensiero Solale Dorate, Gave My Thoughts on Golden Wings. I've got the full record, or the full opera.
So you must have his love of music then, the same sort of taste.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when we played this trio, Uncle Joe was in tears. He was almost crying. Being a musician himself, he played clarinet. I don't know whether you knew that.
Yeah.
He played a lot of Verdi. He must have played a lot of Verdi. And he knew this, and it must have brought back memories for him. And with those singers, three of the top singers of the day.
So you're interested in opera but you don't play anything yourself. So do you think...
I play the gramophone
And
and the piano.
So that's where this
No,
great
never been
interest that's where this great interest came from doing those things in your
From-
grandmother's house.
Not
Probably from Grand.
an inkling from me, yes, probably sparked the, caused the first spark, yes. I later on went to live with Nana after I'd left home, and I started going to concerts, to operas and ballet. In those days, every opera was sung in English.
Yeah, well.
I've seen a lot of operas, saw a lot of ballet, Borovansky, who Borovansky became the nucleus of Australian ballet. I used to talk to Auntie Elsie about the ballet also, and she was really interested. And I'm not sure whether we were married then. We must have been. Les and I took her one night to the ballet, and I have that program at home, and we thought Petrushka was one of them.
Who was this? Auntie Elsie you took?
Auntie Elsie. And I'm glad she saw Petrushka because it's just a fantastic ballet. Stravinsky's music. This fellow has you can more or less say a puppet show. He's the clown, the ballerina, and the blackamoor. The clown is a wacky sort of a bloke. The ballerina is all your great big pink, red cheeks,
Classic,
and she struts around. And the blackamoor has got a turban on, and he's at one stage he's laying down in his bed, and he's, you know how soccer players play with a ball on their feet, and he's doing that. The Moors come to life, and the blackamoor kills Petrushka.
Well, you must have got that love through all of that, mustn't you? It must just be bred in you.
Yeah. I know. Well, you heard me at the Leslie's funeral.
Yes, yeah.
I became interested in classical music, and I used to go to the concerts.
Yeah.
On a concerts then there were a blue series and a red series, both on each had 2 nights. They were subscription concerts. Once you bought a ticket to the subscription concert with the red or blue series, so long as you paid your money every year, you had it for life.
All right.
And there were more and more people wanted to go to concerts, so they then decided to have a white series. That was one night only. But the white series was half the blue series, blue program, and half the red program. And I'm sure there would have been people who the toffee people who went about the red and the blue.
Yeah.
In those days they had a lot of school concerts where kids from school used to go and listen to the concerts, and a lot of them would have got an interest in music, but they had nowhere to go. Unless somebody died, they had no chance of anybody getting a ticket.
All the other ones just hogged it off. Yeah.
So then came the youth concerts. This was the idea of Sir Bernard Hines from Melbourne. And so the ABC's put on the youth concert series, and together with that they established a youth concerts committee. And as I said, that was composed of representatives from the uni, or Sydney Uni, which was the only uni then, the Con, I said Faye Falls was a controller in the choir, the Philharmonia choir. A girl called Anne Plotkin represented the legal profession. The president, Bruce Kay, was credit manager at Knock and Kirby's.
Oh, I can't remember them, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how Bruce kept on going, because I'm probably sure. The youth concerts were meant for people from 18 to 26. And unlike the subscription concerts, they had to line up for their tickets. And some of those kids used to line up 3 days before the thing opened.
Like they do with iPads now. Yeah.
And then the concerts department was in the basement. I can't remember the number, in Pitt Street. And they used to line up around Pitt Street, round the next corner around, and they'd sleep there. And some of them might take it in turns, like somebody might stay there overnight and somebody else took up the position in the morning.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And I think that those kids would probably say, well, okay, you go home to sleep, I'll keep your posse here. And they'd come back and get their posse the next morning. So they had to line up and they had to earn their tickets.
Yeah.
So I could never do that because I was working. I used to frequent the organ gallery, which is, they're all in the town hall, no opera house. The organ gallery the organ was at the back of the town hall,
Yeah.
and the organ gallery was just in front of the organ, and the orchestra was on the stage in front of you. Whenever there was a pianist on as soloist, you had to really get in early and get a ticket, because they all used to flock to the organ gallery. Because if you've got a pianist, you can't have him or her with their back to the audience. That's rude. By the same token, you can't have them not seeing him because the lid's up anyway, and the audience wouldn't see the pianist. So it was always on askew. So these piano students used to get in the organ gallery and get behind the pianist, and they could see the fingers going, they could see the feet on the pedals and whatnot. And they used to love that, so you could never get behind the pianist. You'd have to be somewhere else in the organ gallery. So now and again you could get a seat within the body of the town hall, because some people, if they were going away or they got sick or something, would have the decency.
Sorry, it's going to be loud on your recording now.
Would have the decency to ring up and say, I won't be there, my tickets are such and such, sell them. And you went to the booking office.
And you can get something to get in at last.
Yeah, you could get a seat, you had to pay, but you got a seat in the body or in one of the galleries. But I spent a lot of time there in that organ gallery. The youth concert committee was not set up to choose programs. The Goose would never have allowed that anyway. The Goose was usually Goose was the director. that such time. But the idea was to promote classical music, orchestral music. And they used to write skits and go around to mostly hospitals. When Alan Ziegler conned me into joining, well, I said, Les was the representative for the Girl Guides Association, because she was a guide, and she had only some guides, became a guide, and a brown owl.
They're too nice.
Well, Alan Ziegler conned me into joining the committee, and I took part in some of these skits. The committee members used to write these skits about musical things.
Yeah.
I didn't know some of them, but they used to say things from now and then. Now and again somebody would say, "Who is this Normandy?" One of the members had written this about Eugene Normandy, who was a conductor of the Philadelphia, took over from the Italian. And obviously this was a conductor asking this question or something. Who is he? Because he was only a young bloke coming up. I will name for you the conductors, and he'd go through Bruno Volta and all these fellas, and so that must have been. I imagine they had different music in amongst his talking. It was like it used to act like a play, or I don't know whether you've seen on telly the Goon Show.
Aye.
Where you got the microphone there and they all come in and say their bit.
What he had
It was like that. You had a script. And, and there was music in between. Another one I think Alan Ziegler wrote was, I'm not sure whether it was about French music or just about Ravel, but he said every now and again, and Ravel would add 2 trombones and a clarinet or something for his bolero. You know, the Organ Gallery is the best place in the world to watch bolero. I don't know whether you know too much about it. It starts with a bloke on the slide drum. He starts, and he does that all the way through until the climax, this poor bloke. And then it starts with I think the clarinet starts, and then I go to an oboe, soloist, and the flute, goron blade, and then a horn, and then the trombone, and they all come in singly, and then they start to get together. You get a combination of instruments until it all builds up. It's absolutely unreal. If you're in the organ gallery, you see all these people start. They pick up an instrument and start blowing them. It's unreal. But one I did partake of was one about Tchaikovsky. Tchaikovsky's, person who promoted him was Madame von Meck. This skit was a supposed meeting of Tchaikovsky with Madame von Meck. Well, they never ever met. He never ever met her. But it's so you go to this place, Madame von Meck's place, and part of it is everywhere you look, the fleur de lis. I know that it's part of their what do you call it, with the coat of arms, but it does look a bit royal, and this is part of the skit, and it says in your free time you got like Tchaikovsky music. Well, we used to take these around these hospitals. 2 of these hospitals used to be hard to take. One was called Strathallan, and the other was Margaret Reed Orthopaedic Hospital. They were kids with things wrong with their arms.
What was the second hospital? Margaret Reed?
Margaret Reed Orthopaedic Hospital
Margaret Reed,
in
yeah.
Strathallan. They were hard to take.
So, oh, sorry.
We never performed in front of these the inmates of these hospitals. We were always behind the curtain, and especially for Margaret Reed, you had to go right down the end of the ward. You went past all these kids, and you put on these programs, and you were telling them all about influencing them into classical music.
I was thinking about one of Mum's relatives died at I think it was the Margaret Reed Hospital on the other side, on the Smith side, I think. But, yeah.
Well,
So did you ever see your grandfather playing them gramophone records and that? Did you ever your grandfather? Did you ever see him listening to that music and enjoying it, or?
My grandfather?
Yeah.
I didn't meet him. He died.
Oh, that's right. Of course.
He died
yeah,
two days before I was 2.
That's right. I forget. I wonder if he did. Like, I just imagine him sitting there on the veranda or something.
But
You know,
obviously, it probably did start you off liking the music.
having
Well,
it there, yeah, in the house.
That music.
That would have been assisted by Joe Chipola.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I was just going to say too, just a curious little bite back. My mum was named Barbara, and when she was born, Joe Chipola wanted her to be named Barbarita. That's where he came from, a place called Barbarita, and that's how Rita got her name. Mum, they would only go with Barbara; they wouldn't go with Barbarita. Barbara Rita, he wanted her called, so they used Rita. So that's how they got named. So.
She's so pretty, Barbara.
Rita.
Well, the one that I see in the photograph.
Yeah, Rita. Yeah, Rita. Yeah, she was very pretty.
Rita was very pretty.
Yeah, she was beautiful. So.
You're a great mate, Ruth.
Do you know, I think still with subscription concerts, I think it's the sort of same thing, people hold on to
with
them,
Ivy
because that's
McClatchy, you know how it goes further back. So, I can't see it upside down, but Ivy got married 3 times. So, and he had some like a pottery business or something. We'd love to have a bit of pottery, something like that. She's really
Love to.
Well, and on top of that, my mum played the piano. Before
there's his wheel and everything there, I've got.
before I knew anything about
I
that.
can't remember, something
Yeah.
makes me think it was a pottery business or
Landscape.
something he had. And I can't remember now.
Les played the piano. She was still at the piano. She never played for
I
me.
think it's an unusual name for a man, isn't it?
We had a piano in Edenholme Road.
Yeah, I think
I
my
thought
mother
it was
played.
Betty's. But
Yes, it would have sold. I don't know what. Yeah, but Betty said that last Wednesday. She said, that was my piano. I thought it was your mum. Might have been your mum's
I don't know
piano.
where I got that from, but somewhere there.
Yeah, well, she said it was Betty, it was hers. But somewhere down my garage, quite a bit of sheet music, and a lot of those had your mother's name on. There's one piece that's got Jean Penson's name on it. Jean Penson was the girl who lived next door to us in Malabar. She was in 22 Conservative Street.
Hang on to the sheet music.
Yes. Well, Betty's in a choir up there where she lives.
I can't see it.
And they have hell's own job trying to get sheet music.
It's hard.
I was trying to find here, I've got this, going back further than the Russells and stuff, there's the McClatchies in there, and this Ivy McClatchy was I don't know what he is, Sometimes I was grandfather. And I was just trying to, I can't see where I've got it, but he's a pottery business or something, but he got married 3 times anyway. He had 3 wives. Some of them were pretty busy. It was back in 1750 or something. I'm just trying to,
Yeah.
can't see it
You
now.
know, I think tickets to the opera now, it's just so expensive. And the concerts. They've got so expensive, and yet there was a stage there, because I used to take my kids to all the musicals and things,
Yeah.
and I could afford to take them.
Now it's getting
But
so
now
expensive.
it's so expensive, and I thought, well, even now, if I had to take us all out,
Oh, hundreds of dollars.
yeah, it's hundreds of dollars, and yet I used to take the girls to see all the big musicals in the city.
Yeah.
And then I went recently to some sort of recovered awards night. It was anyway, my sis had these tickets, and we went along, and there was this very old lady, and she was getting this award because she had made like tickets affordable so that the family would be able to go. But that must have been awful long ago.
Yeah.
Time ago,
Oh, because it's so
we couldn't
expensive
afford it.
now. Yeah.
And yet there was a time I used to pay half price for them,
Yeah.
so I could afford to take
Oh,
them.
now there's nothing. There's seats, and it's just, yeah, you don't, yeah.
You know?
We
Gosh,
took
you
our
hardly
kids
afford
to-
to take yourself. I mean, if you go, I reckon if you go, for goodness sake, go and sit in a good seat.
Yeah. Well, we used to take the kids to go to musicals and things, but we never get them into opera or anything. But one time we went to, I forget what it was called. It wasn't it was something spectacular, but it was the Orchestra Spectacular or something. And we took the kids and the whole, about 5 different families took all our kids, and they had a ball because they didn't realise how many of the things they recognise, like from ads and stuff. You don't realise how much of that music is in there. And they had, the orchestra was wonderful, and they had the sound, and they had fireworks inside the building, and just the entertainment and stuff. And the kids loved it. And they were all whinging and whining when we were dragging them off there, but they had a ball. And so many of them just recognised the music and just didn't even realise,
We're going to see Les Miserables. Do you know, and I'm going to see Les Miserables because I believe that even though we've seen the other one with John, what's his name? The guy who fought in Vietnam, and
Oh, him.
even though we saw that one, the new production is, with all the new effects that they're able to have, is just absolutely mind-boggling. So we're going to see that in May. But that's my favourite musical,
Made me.
Les Miserables. It is wonderful.
Mine was 42nd Street. I just love that.
42nd. Yeah.
42nd Street. I took Peter. I was pregnant with Mitchell, and I took Peter, and our girlfriend and her husband went. And Peter just, I was dragging him along to a musical again. He didn't want to go. And we all came out of there feeling like we wanted to go to dance lessons. It was just on such a high when you came out of it. They were so precise.
Also, didn't we see 42nd? Yeah, we did. And we went round to this, because we always went to matinees because we were young. And we always go to the stage door to see if we can get any signatures.
Oh, yes.
And Grant Dodwell was the person in it. And we decided to wait for him because he was in the country practice, and I loved him at that stage. So we went and we said, oh, is he coming out? And they said, oh, no, he's getting his hair cut. And we said, oh, yeah, we'll just wait for a bit longer. And then he came out and he wrote in the program, thanks for waiting, love.
Oh, lovely.
And it was
My mum's sister, Annie Marcia, used to take me to lots of musicals when I was young.
fun.
And out of all the shows she ever took, we had operas and different things. The one I loved the best when I was a kid was one called Irene. And it was Noel Ferrier. Do you remember him?
I remember the musical.
Yeah, I loved it.
He's very old. I act in the house.
Oh, he's dead now. He died, yeah. He died a long time ago. But he was playing this effeminate gay sort of character, It was really good. I loved it. I got his autograph outside. I remember waiting. I remember I was in this pink floral long dress that was in fashion. I asked Mamie to wear to the day,
His signature I've got, and I feel very proud of this. It's Michael Corpus.
Oh, wow.
Because he came to sing at the State Theatre, and remarkable singer, Michael Crawford. And anyway, he signed two, because he had all these bodyguards, like we've been used to these people.
Yeah, free.
Yeah,
coming
you walk
and
up.
Walk up.
standing there and talking to us and everything. But this fella, he has all these bodyguards, and he signed a disabled girl's thing and mine.
Oh wow, that was it.
that was it.
Somewhere being to Cardiff, if I've still got the program.
That's around the time they got off in Darby, isn't it?
Yeah.
When I was cleaning up my back room yesterday, I was finding there's 2 cricket bats out there signed by Ricky Ponting, and we got them for the junior cricket thing through that. Peter was the coach, so he got the cricket. They were given to Peter. So we'll wait till he goes, the kids can sell it or something. So what else you got there with them photos?
Yeah, we need
Have I
to
missed-
keep on with the photos, I think.
Yeah, we'll miss them.
It's starting to get late.
That one, yeah.
How come it's so late?
What time is it?
Quarter
Quarter to
to 4.
And you got